Yeah, so it's hard to say exactly how similar. I think it's definitely not the same. It is definitely different. But I think it's similar enough that, to me, every session on the replica was as good as a session on the real thing from a training point of view. So, like, I definitely counted the replica sessions in the overall send, because it felt like, I mean, without those sessions, I wouldn't have sent to this trip. I don't think it would have taken, I suppose, an extra 10 days. And if I was to take an extra 10 days with all the rest days in as well, like, it's probably getting a bit too hot. So, yeah, basically, the holds all had subtle differences. They're like on the replica compared to the real one. Some of them were slightly smaller. Some of them were a bit better. Some didn't quite have the same texture. I guess the scanning on the phone's not going to get everything. Like, the first left-hand hold is definitely worse on the replica by a fair margin. It's hard to kind of get behind. There's a crack down the back of the hold, and on the real one you can really sort of curl your fingers and bite into it. I struggled a lot more in the replica to do that. And the last hold on the replica, for instance, is because it's kind of like a drag hold. You don't really get to engage and really pull. So you kind of rely on the friction. And on the real thing, the friction's amazing and you can take crazy swings if you hit it right. Whereas on the replica, it was just even hanging under it's really difficult. So I had to train to do the last move, not swinging out, which was crazy hard. And then, so coming to the replica, that was, coming to the real thing, sorry, it was there were a couple really nice surprises, being like, oh, wow, this hold's really good, actually. But then there were one or two, so although the first holds were better on the real one, the second hold, so the first move you do, that edge is slightly smaller. So actually that's it's harder to hold, and then way harder to do the footwalk and the second and third move.
Gotcha. So the start hold for the left hand is better on the real thing
and the right.
Replica.
Yeah, both start holds are a lot better.
But the hold you're going to is worse on the real thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You just, you just answered this, but I did want to ask this question. I'm curious if anything else will come to mind. What surprised you the most when you first tried the actual boulder?
I mean, I was going there hoping that the last hold was going to be better, because I remember watching in Nally and in Sean's video where, they take big swings on the hold, and I was like, it can't be the same. It can't be the same as a replica. Surely it's got to be better. So I was kind of expecting that to be better, to be fair. I think maybe one of the things that surprised me the most was the drop knee that I was trying for the fourth move, because on the replica, the drop knee makes the fourth move quite okay. Whereas doing it with the actual foot that you're meant to use, I really struggled. I did it, I think, once that first session, but with the drop knee, I could basically do it every time. And Aiden at the time, I asked him, oh, it's a drop knee, does it not work on the real thing? And he was saying basically on the real thing, because it was a little steeper than the replica, it didn't work as well, and it was easier to do the other way. So when I tried the drop knee in the first session, and for me, because I guess I like drop knees, it worked really well. And I was like, oh, I didn't really expect that, but I was like, oh wow, that's really good to know. And it's an interesting one, because I was always kind of trying with the drop knee, but in the end, I didn't actually send it with the drop knee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used the original Nally foot, and kind of the reason for it, the drop knee works super well to readjust the holds, but it then makes the last move very slightly harder. So basically, if you get the last two holds badly, you want to put the drop knee in so that you can readjust them and then get them good. Whereas if you get them perfect, then you want to do the other way, because it's faster and it makes the last move slightly easier.
I see.
So I had one go where I dropped the last move using Nally's way, one go where I dropped the last move using the drop knee, and then I sent not using the drop knee.
Did you end up using exactly the same beta as Nally?
Yeah, pretty much. So very subtle differences. The first hold, he was full crimping. For me, the holds were, because they're all four finger crimps, I struggle to full crimp because my pinky's so short. So I held it as a pinch instead. And then the when you do the match on the second hold and go for the third move, he was taking his right index finger off and then putting his left thumb where the index was. Whereas for me, I would take the index off the right hand and then just move my index round and hold it in the half. But other than that, yeah, exactly the same. Oh no, the last move I use a different foot as well.
Okay. That's a pretty special thing about a cutting edge hard boulder, that there's no way to cheat it. You know, no one's gonna find a knee bar on Burden of Dreams. It's just like you get what you get.
Yeah, there's no knee bars, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I did find a heel hook beta, which we did all the moves, and I think is potentially easier. But the heel is so bad, it was so low percentage that I think to have enough goes where you actually get lucky enough for it to work, and it is still hard, it's probably easier just to do the normal way. But I do wonder if someone will do that in the future.
Okay. Maybe it'd be interesting to hear about the replica training. You know, once you're getting up to 2 hours or 2.5 hours, what does that actually look like? I imagine that you're spending, I don't know, 3/4 of that time just resting, just, you know, getting ready for really high quality attempts. What does an actual session look like?
So a session on the replica, warm up on the fingerboard, do the sort of warm up where I'd pull on the second move, and then kind of go through, like, do the second move, do the third move, do the fourth move, and then do them as a link, do them then as a link, including the footwalk at the start. So essentially pretending I've just done the first move, and then you do the full footwalk, link through, fall off the last move, and then set up the pulley, which was so good, the pulley. And then start with 10 kilos on the pulley, do the first move with 10 kilos, drop it to 7.5, do the first move with 7.5 kilos, then 5 kilos, then 2.5, and then take the pulley away, and then basically just try the first move for as long as I felt like I could. Once I knew I was just starting to get worse, like I felt tired on it, I would then stop, try the last move a bit, and then maybe try and do like the middle link again, but probably fall off because it was kind of desperate at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried the first move close on 20 times, I think.
In a session?
Yeah, and at the end of the replica sessions, like later on, in the first couple, I didn't try it as many. But yeah, probably close to 20, I think.